Sactown Sports.
We have a couple names floating around. Now, I don't know if this stuff is 100% confirmed yet. I don't think so, because before the break, we played the breaking news sounder. Bobby Jackson sounds like he's headed back to Sacramento. And, you know, I thought I was going to be the next Bobby Jackson, by the way. Said it time and time again. Bobby Jackson headed back to Sacramento to join the coaching staff. He became an assistant coach for the Kings in 2013. New Kings coach Michael Malone announced that the coach would not be retained for the 2013-2014 season. In 2021, or after that in 2013, he was with the T-Wolves as a player development coach. In 2021, Jackson was named the head coach of the Stockton Kings. And in 2023, Jackson became an assistant coach for the Sixers. So he's been out there for a couple years now. And it is being reported by Sean Cunningham that it sounds like it's going to happen. This stuff isn't 1,000% confirmed yet. Carmichael Dave, 20 minutes ago, says, busy times for Scott Perry and Doug Christie on the coaching front. Amongst the names being considered / spoken to, Mike Woodson, Bobby Jackson, and Darius Sungala. And Sungala, he obviously played for the Kings from 03 to 05. His coaching career, he was in 2018, he became a quality assurance assistant in the video department for the Spurs. In 2019, Sungala was promoted to player development assistant. In 2020, Sungala was promoted to assistant coach. In 2024, he signed with Manisa Basket of Basketball Super Liga as an assistant coach. So
also would make a note that he played and coached for the team in Lithuania that Domantas Sabonis' father played for.
Okay, so based on what I'm seeing, obviously he played for the Kings, but he was not even an assistant coach in the NBA.
He was with the Spurs.
Well, yes, he was a quality assurance assistant in the video department. Then he was promoted to player development coach.
Yeah, so a back second row of the bench guy.
Yes, and then in 2020 he was promoted to assistant coach, maybe close to the front of the bench, something like that.
Yeah,
so,
and then last year he was in Turkey as an assistant coach.
There you go. So neither of those guys, none of the three of them, it's 1,000% for certain yet, but it sounds like I don't know how often stuff like this gets reported and it gets dialed back, unless, Bobby, we want you to be head coach somewhere. I just don't think that's going to happen.
It seems like this may be more of a Sabonis / Valanciunas.
He's the new Doug. Is he the new Doug?
I'm not saying he's the new Doug.
Doug.
I'm just saying that's where the connection comes from. He's won medals at Eurobaskets and Olympics with Lithuania, played for Arvydas Sabonis' club in Lithuania.
Yeah, I've heard enough. Do you think, I'm trying to figure out.
Sorry, played and coached for Arvydas Sabonis' club in Lithuania.
I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the offensive guy here. And maybe they haven't named them yet, but is it going to be Sungala? I feel like that'd be a bit of a jump, right?
My guess would be, since Bobby is, I think, the fourth guy on the bench right now in Philly, that if Mike's going to be number 2, Bobby's probably going to be 3 or 4. So maybe there's one more person in there.
Right. I don't think the offensive guy has been picked up yet, because I don't think it's Woodson. I don't think.
Mike Woodson's never been known as an offense first guy.
I don't think it's going to be Woodson. I don't think it's going to be Bobby. So I don't think that they have their offensive guy yet.
Yeah, and maybe they don't name an official offensive coordinator. I don't know, but it just seems like they're talking to people, and these are the names who are interested in coming over to Sacramento, which Bobby makes sense. His bobblehead is literally in your camera shot right now. Woodson, we talked about him yesterday. That segment's on YouTube. And apology, that Sungala, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a connection with the Beef Brothers potentially in the reason why he's coming over.
That's right. So the Beef Bros, and again, want to connect the dots here. I think the whole Domantas Sabonis clarity thing, I think it was legit, don't get me wrong, but I think it was all a play to make sure. And Brendan Nunez was on these airwaves just last week talking about how he doesn't know if Domantas Sabonis is going to stay simply because Doug is the coach. Well, Doug is the coach. We know Domantas Sabonis was close with Doug when he was the assistant coach, and now they're bringing in Songaila, who has ties to the Lithuanian national team, who has coached and played for Domantas's dad, who obviously there's a connection there with Valanciunas as well. Domantas Sabonis is not going anywhere. Or at the very least, the Kings are doing their best to try to make him happy. How about that?
At least take his feedback, potentially.
Which is what he asked.
Sure. He said long-tenured players having a voice in some of the decision-makings, which who knows? Maybe he's talking about Trey Lyles. I don't know.
Think I know he played for the Kings in 03, 05, and there's a little bit of overlap there with some of the other former Kings, but I don't think they just cooked this up on their own. I think Domantas Sabonis had a hand in this, which is fine. I'm saying that should be a good sign as far as Domantas Sabonis staying with the Kings.
Sure, and you know who you know in some of these cases. It's like, okay, they only have but so many connections, and maybe Domantas put in a recommendation for him to be the coach. Because just looking at his resume, it looks like his years coaching Arvydas' old club in Lithuania, they won the championship 3 years in a row. So there must be some sort of known commodity there. I just don't know exactly. I don't know exactly where the bench fills out, so it's hard to be like, they made this decision for this and that decision for that and how it all pieces together.
Can I say so? Can I say something respectfully? Because I'm looking at the reactions to what Dave had to say. Again, Carmichael Dave, about 30 minutes ago. Busy times for Scott Perry and Doug Christie on the coaching front amongst the names being considered spoken to. Mike Woodson, Bobby Jackson, Darius Songaila, and people are just saying, okay, is this a little, and these are Kings fans, are we doing a little much with every single, besides Mike Woodson, right? But every single, and Mike Woodson played for the Kings actually too, but
so did Darius Songaila.
Right, but I'm saying specifically the early 2000s Kings. Is there a line, and are we doing a little bit too much with the whole coaching staff? Are you going to go get white chocolate next? Are we doing a little bit too much with every coach being connected to the Kings in some way? I mean, look, they're trying to build a culture. If this is the culture they want to build, I will say this. Here's the argument. Nobody, and I can say this because I've moved to Sacramento, and I would probably say that my thoughts, I never had negative feelings on Sacramento because I never spent a lot of time out here, besides when I went to, I forget the name of that music festival that I went to, but I went to a couple music festivals out here. But you don't really understand Sacramento until you've been in Sacramento. And if you're trying to build a culture, maybe the culture they want is guys that understand Sacramento at their core. Bobby Jackson is an assistant coach who was on the rise. So I really don't have a problem with Bobby Jackson. If Darius Songaila, and again, this stuff hasn't necessarily been confirmed yet, but if Songaila is a Domantas Sabonis pick, right, with his connections to Lithuania and Sabonis' father, and which would then connect him to Valanciunas, okay, fine. I mean, he's the best player on your team. It is what it is. He said he wanted a voice. I don't think Songaila is going to be that high on the totem pole as far as where, his chair, if you will. And you have Mike Woodson, who is a former NBA guy and doesn't really fit that same mold because he played for the Kings, their first year when they were their first year in Sacramento. So he doesn't really count. That's not why they're bringing him. They're bringing him because he was an NBA head coach and his ties to Scott Perry. So I'll put it to you like this. One more. If they do one more, then I'll have that conversation. I'm not there yet. If they bring in one more, and I don't even know who the hell it would be, they bring in one more former King from anywhere in the early 2000s, we can have the conversation.
I would say part of it is you know who you know, right? Because we made the point of like, oh, he has Lithuanian connections, and like obviously he played with Doug and Bobby Jackson too. So right, Doug knows who he knows, right? Outside of a few years, the best years of his career were played in Sacramento. He's only been an assistant coach in Sacramento, and he's lived here for the past 15 years. So unless the 2005 Orlando Magic are ripe with future head coaches, I don't think Doug has those relationships. Not that he doesn't know people, but where someone would say, hey, I'm going to come work for you and work on your staff type of relationship, which, it's just the perfect confluence of events. These are the people willing and able to come coach in Sacramento. And I don't know if they've built out an illustrious coaching staff or not yet, but at least we know it's people who have connections to Doug or Scott in some plainly obvious way.
Yeah, they got connections. UPS Chris says, next up, Brad Miller, 916-339-1140. How do you feel about Bobby Jackson possibly coming back to Sacramento? I think it's more than possibly, but and Darius Anguilla as well. I think it's more than possibly, but it's not 1,000% official yet. I just imagine this, Kyle, to be some type of snake draft, right? Where Doug and Scott Perry are just sitting in a room, just both picking people that they know. Scott Perry got the first pick because he's GM. He says Mike Woodson. Then, in a snake draft, you get first pick, and then the second person gets the next two. So Doug says, okay, give me Darius and Bobby Jackson. So now next up is Scott Perry to pick the next assistant coach.
Looks like Tyrone Corbin's available. He played for the Kings in 2000.
Is he even a coach?
He was the interim coach of the Kings once upon a time. Back when that was the early Vivek days. Okay, he was the guy who replaced Michael Malone for like 20 games.
That's right. St. Jean, his son. I told you I graduated. Honestly, there have been some off the record conversations had because I graduated with his son.
You've never mentioned that.
I mean, once or twice. Did I beat him in a game of what is it? King of the Mountain at a De La Salle camp? I'll never tell. But now he's the assistant coach, one of the assistant coaches. He actually, that picture or that clip that was going around of, I think it was Legend of Winning, saying Reggie Miller was a role player. During that clip, it's on the broadcast is JJ Redick and Greg St. Jean. They're talking for about, it feels like 5 minutes, and Greg got plenty of screen time, so all my buddies were talking about it. But Greg St. Jean he's flown up the ranks now. But the problem is, Kyle, does that work because he's blood to Gary? Because he has no technically connection. I do believe he would have, lived in Sacramento as a young child?
Probably.
Would that count? Would that count for what they're doing?
I think if you hire the son, this is the thing with Adelman's kid, right?
Saying,
if you hire the son of a beloved Sacramento Kings head coach, yes, I think that probably counts as a connection. It's not like they're hiring the son of like.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Is Reggie Theus around somewhere?
I'm just checking. Somebody said bring Rick Adelman back. That's Raleigh from Rockland.
How old is Rick Adelman at this place? Gotta be 70.
Peg on the Sac Chat said, do we think the Nuggets will hold on to David Adelman? And somebody responded saying, I think if they beat the Thunder, I don't even think they need to beat the Thunder. David Adelman is not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
I would say you're probably right.
He's staying with the Nuggets. But, and here's the thing. Wouldn't you make the argument, even if they do go in a different direction, he's either second chair somewhere, or he's head coach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was the second chair in Denver.
He's not, I don't think there's anywhere, unless he went to be the offensive guy, and I don't know what his bag is per se, if it's offense or defense. It's got to be offense because Nuggets don't play defense. But I don't know if there's a position. You're not going from being an interim head coach with the Nuggets to being first or second chair with the Kings, I don't think. I don't see that.
No, I don't think they would choose. I don't think he would choose to do that.
If they didn't go with Doug and there was a head coaching position available, that's a different conversation. But he's going to have his pick of the litter. But again, the Nuggets, if they had lost to the Clippers, I think things would have been more confusing. they've now won one series. They're up 1-0 in another series. If they beat the Thunder, of course he's not going anywhere. But I even think if it's a good series with the Thunder, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you think if he became available that Rick Carlisle wouldn't say, hey, second guy on my bench, thank you for your service. We're going to go with David Adelman at this point.
Exactly.
Like he's going to have a pick of his jobs.
916-339-1140. Give me more names. More names for the Sacramento Kings filling out the coaching staff. They can be jokes if you want, or serious names. Only caveat, they have to either be a former King player or have a blood relation to somebody from Sacramento or have spent time living. Did they ever pay taxes in Sacramento, or did somebody that they are blood related to pay taxes in Sacramento? That's the only way you can be on this coaching staff. Those are the only caveats. Give us some names. Also, Kevin Durant, that market might not be as hot as you think. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sactown Sports